Imagine you are a woman, but not just any woman, a woman who has worked for years to earn respect around the workplace and is at an equal rank as one of your coworkers. However, this coworker is a middle-aged single man, and you are the woman who is raising 2 kids at home. One day you find out that your coworker makes more money than yourself, but you think to yourself that you do the same amount of work as your coworker, yet you still earn less and have more mouths to feed at home. According to the Center of American Progress, Katie Peters and Ann Shoup, as of 2010, women still earn 77% of what men make, compared to 1967 when women earned 58 cents to every man's dollar. The 77% seems like good progress. However, if we were to continue to go at the rate we are going now, we won't eradicate the wage gap for another 45 years. Imagine how much more money women could be making and could be using for their families if the wage gap was eradicated now. Women should be able to get paid as equally as men. First, we will discuss the ill or the problem that has been facing women for years. Second, we will talk about the blame or why this problem has existed for such a long period of time. And third, we will talk about the cure or what we should do to fix this problem and eradicate the wage gap for good.
When women suspect of unequal payment in their workplace, many fear risking putting their jobs in jeopardy. Because of their fear of getting fired, women usually choose to keep quiet. Although, when confronted about the issue, bosses refuse access to the pay records of their company, thus making it difficult for women to be able to prove that for every dollar that men earn, women earn 77 cents in comparison. According to the Government Accountability Office, men with children appear to earn about 2% more than men without children, whereas women earn about 2.5 up to 7% less than women who don't have children. This wage difference doesn't only affect women individually, but also make an impact on their entire family. When women's wages are lowered due to discrimination, their family's income is also lowered. This especially makes it difficult for single mothers to be able to provide for their family, for obvious reasons. In fact, about 30.4% of custodial single mothers lived in poverty in 2009, according to National Women's Law Center. Lower earnings have a serious impact of at least 7.4 million single mothers' economic security. 60% of the wage gap can be attributed to factors such as work experience, union status, and the choice of occupation, but 40% of the wage gap is still reported as unexplained. That's at least 10 cents of the remaining gap on the dollar that women aren't receiving, which may not sound a lot, but that's about $4,465 per year among workers making the median wage.
Years after the Equal Pay Act of 1963 was passed, pay discrimination among men and women still exists. There are several reasons for the problem to exist today. According to the article, Why Unequal Pay Persists by Fatima Gus and Arjun Sethi, having pay secrecy policies is causing the unequal pay. Nonetheless, women who suspect they are victims of unequal pay are seen as replaceable by their employees and are especially likely to choose silence and live with pay discrimination rather than risk their jobs. Yet, not all the blame falls on silence and secrecy policies, but also on the states themselves and to some degree on Obama. State laws can prove important protections against employers' retaliation, so women can speak up and demand their fair pay. Obama himself has the power to ban punitive pay secrecy, thus exposing salaries and giving everyone the right to demand what corresponds to them. A woman specifically affected by the wage gap is a woman named Maria Cruz. Mrs. Cruz has worked for a cleaning company for the past 5 years. Recently, she brought her 19-year-old son to work with the company. On his second paycheck, she noticed that her less experienced son was getting paid 75 cents more than she was. Yet Mrs. Cruz is afraid to confront her manager about it because she doesn't want to risk losing her job. This supports the problem that many women are afraid to speak due to possible retaliation from their bosses, making it a necessity to have a law that protects the jobs of these women. Although Obama speaks about eliminating the wage gap, the problem still exists today. He recently spoke about gender discrimination and how women should be treated equally to men, but women are still being seen as a second choice in the work field.
During the time when the Equal Pay Act was established, people believed that this movement would be a great cure for women to have the opportunity to be paid equal to men in the workforce. Now, in today's society, we notice that women are still not being paid the same amount as the men that have the same occupation. In order to change the wage gap, people need to address the issue of gender discrimination, but people choose not to address the issue because they do not want their jobs to be at risk. There should be a law that bans retaliation for men and women. The first step in order to create the law that bans retaliation for men and women is to make the problem better known. People need to start speaking up against this problem. Due to the Equal Pay Act, a person can sue their workplace based on Equal Pay Act versus Title VII. A person can file a lawsuit under the Equal Pay Act without first filing a complaint with the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, also known as the EEOC. Unlike the Title VII, the Equal Pay Act does not require proof that the employer acted intentionally when discriminating. That can make an Equal Pay Act case easier to win in court. According to CNN Opinions, while unequal pay persists, Fatima Gosgraves and Arjun Sethi explained that the Equal Pay Act of 1963 was passed to prohibit wage discrimination on the basis of sex and sought to ensure that women earn equal pay for equal work. Its purpose was clear: eliminate the gender wage gap, which hurts women and families. But 50 years later, pay discrimination is still alive and well. Wage rules that require employees to keep their pay secret. It's time for our wage gaps to get out from behind the secrecy paywall. Men and women should be able to earn the same pay because men and women have the same jobs. Jobs do not have the identical for courts to consider them equal. If two employees are actually doing the same work, it doesn't matter if their titles or job descriptions differ. What counts is the duties and the employees actually perform. In general, courts have ruled that two jobs are equal for the purposes of Equal Pay Act when both require equal levels of skill, effort, and responsibility and are performed under similar conditions. Due to Equal Pay Act, women were tired of being seen as second-class workers. On average, full-time working women earn around 77 cents for every dollar a man earns. This specific gap is more than a statistic, but this situation has increased real-life consequences. When women who make up nearly half the workforce bring home less money each day, it means that they have less for their everyday needs for their families, and over a lifetime of work, far less savings for retirement. In order to create a better and fair working environment, women and men should be able to be paid the same amount of wages and salaries without being judged based on their gender.
Women should be paid as equally and fairly as men do. First, we discussed the ill, or the problem that is facing so many women today. Second, we discussed the blame, or the reason behind this problem. Thirdly, we discussed what our cure is, or our way of fixing this problem. By encouraging women to go speak up against their employers and to fight for what they deserve, it will show every woman that they shouldn't be afraid to speak up for something that they earned. To stop the wage gap, women need to make this problem more public and to start sticking up for what they deserve.